Shalom, Akim, it's the brother CHAARAWTAZA from GMSORLANDO, GMSFLoridaStudy. So, a couple weeks ago, we had a girl come out, and she was already out there when we were setting up for camp, and she was talking to some Christians, and she was telling them that God is not real and God doesn't exist, and she's talking all this science shit. And so while the brothers were setting up, I intervened. I wanted to speak to her. So I spoke to her, and basically you could watch all of that conversation. Well, you can watch some of the conversation on the video called "Science as Religion," and such and such. But it's like one of the last videos we did on GMSORLANDO GMSORLANDO Camp 2. So we'll watch a little excerpt from it. Now, in this excerpt, what I was telling her is that this science that she says she believes in is a religion, and it is. Okay, you have to have faith to think that there's no God. You can't stand on facts and say that there's no God. You can't stand on facts and say that we evolved from primates or monkeys, however you want to call it. You can't stand on facts and state these things, man. These things are beliefs, which is basically what a religion is. Okay, religion has beliefs, some things that can't necessarily be proven, all right, so to speak. It also has priest, all right, and a certain doctrine, okay. Alright, and science has all of those things, okay? So I'm going to just play this a little bit.
It's new people. Right. I mean, some people think that that makes me a psychopath. That makes me crazy. Because I'm not like them. You know, I'm not a mindless fucking idiot. That makes me different. That makes me the crazy person. You know, they just go and they accept anything. They don't think about it. I think about it. And then when you think about something, idiots don't debate.
You don't even. I'm gonna say something to you.
I care about what you're saying, and obviously you care about what I do.
What do we believe in?
What I'm trying to say, you haven't told me. I don't make judgments. I don't pass judgments.
You never even.
We were just talking about evolution.
No, I asked, and then he went on to evolution. I asked what an Israelite was because I really wanted to know.
got to it though.
I know, because you got on tangents. Like you wanted me to have you wanted to prove me that faith was real and that science was religion. And religion is
religion. You do something faith. You said you use it. You can't take that.
I use the definition of faith. I don't use God faith.
And scientists use faith before they start the experiments.
That's true.
You gotta have faith that I gotta have faith that there's gravity. We're not saying that God. We're not talking about God.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
We're not saying that God. We're talking about having. I said science was a religion. We're gonna say
the definition of religion is not.
Okay, we're gonna say right now.
We're
gonna say right now. No, we know they're not gonna tell you it's a religion, but we're gonna say right now religions have faiths, right? They have faiths, things that not necessarily proven at the time.
Well, you say scientists have faith when they do experiments. I'm not a scientist.
Okay.
I'm definitely not a part of the religion of science.
You are, because you believe in the tenets of it.
I don't believe in things. I literally, if I can observe it and see it, and actually it helps my life, helps me go through the world.
Now, if you notice, she said if she could see it or touch it. So this is one of the precepts of science, is that you have to be able to see it or touch it to know that it's real. Now, I'll stop the video right there, because in the ancient days we had they call it metaphysical science today, but we had two types of science. We had the spiritual science, and we had the science of the physical, spiritual and physical, or carnal. Alright, spiritual science and physical science. Spiritual science dealing with things that are unseen, forces that are unseen that has an effect on the world. Usually we call those forces spirits. That's why you see in the scriptures the wind is called a spirit, because it's something that is unseen, but has an effect on the physical world that you can see. All right, so we have physical science, which is the science that they would deal with, and we had spiritual science. Now, how do we know that this is true? Let's go to Daniel chapter 1 verse 7, 1 verse 4. Daniel 1 and 4 says, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored, and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge, and understanding of science. So you see this? Now, when it says cunning in knowledge, and skillful in wisdom, this is talking about the wisdom and understanding and the knowledge of the Most High. But it also says in understanding science. Alright? And I'll read the rest, but we're going to come back to the science. It says, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, in whom they might teach the learning in the tongue of the Chaldees. Okay, so we know that Daniel, alright, and these children, and these the other prophets that were with Daniel, or the other Israelites that were with Daniel, understood science, and they understood knowledge of the Most High. So they were well rounded in the sense that they knew spiritual science, so to speak, and physical science, alright, which deals on the earth. So let's look up this word science right here. So you see science is right here in the Hebrew, is madai. Alright? Madai. Alright? Now when you look this word up, madai, it says knowledge, thought, knowledge, mind, thought, place of knowledge. Okay? Now let's go into the root word. Alright? Which is yadai. Yadai. Okay? Now what does this mean? It says to know, learn to know, to perceive and see, find out and discern. So this is when you look at something and you try to understand it, just the same as they have the scientific methods. All right. It's the same thing in ancient days. They would discern things. They would study animals. They would follow the animals. They would learn about the animals, and that was called science, or to know, knowledge. Okay. See, to know by experience. Meaning you would take this, whatever you're trying to learn about, and you'll meticulously study it. Whether it be gravity, whether it be, an ant. Alright? To recognize, admit, knowledge, confess, to confess, to know, be acquainted with. See, this is dealing with to have knowledge, be wise. This is dealing with physical knowledge. Knowledge on the earth, where you would have to see something, or you would have to be involved with it. You would have to know it. You would have to search it out, to find out and to discern, to know it as fact, to be true. Okay? Now right here you says the Strong's definition, yadai. And if you notice, this is the only, there's not a lot of these that has this down here. This is one of the only words that I've seen that has this. It says yadai, a primitive root, to know. Now check this out. Properly to assert to ascertain by seeing. So this is your physical science, okay? This is your physical knowledge in the scriptures. Alright? This is where you know it by your senses, okay? This is your physical knowledge, what they're trying to attain. Alright? Right there, properly to ascertain by seeing. Alright? Let's go here. It says yadai. Obviously corresponding to the, to see. And hence to perceive, to acquire knowledge, to know, to be acquainted. It includes the action of knowing both as commencing, and it goes on. But if you see that this is pertaining to physical knowledge. So when it says that Daniel had to, let's go back. When it says Daniel and his brothers had, they were cunning in knowledge and understanding science. This is talking about physical science. Alright, the same science that these people are trying to find out about. Physical science right here. So we know that there were two different types of science. There was the science of the science, the spiritual science, where you would be learning of the Most High, where you might not necessarily know it a bit. You might not necessarily be able to prove it to someone else. All right, by means that they can understand. All right, that would be the spiritual science. But then you had the physical science, which would be the science on earth that you could prove to other people by showing them and doing experiments, and you would really truly understand it and know it. All right. So that's that. So the problem with this girl is she's taking this science that they're bringing out today, and she's only dealing with that science. And that's the problem with people. All right, they only want to deal with this science that the so-called white man is bringing out, which is not true science. I mean, like First Timothy says. Let's go get that real quick. All right, 1 Timothy 6:20. It says, O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust. Avoid profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science, falsely called so. Now, that's what this is today. When you have these people talking about evolution and all these things within the scientific community today, this shit is not true science. All right, let's look up this word. Let's see. Go to the etymology. Now, what does science go back to in the etymology? Right here. Science. Mid-14th century. What is known. Knowledge of something acquired by study. Now, see, this is the same thing we read in the scriptures about Daniel. To be acquired by study. Information. Also, assurance of knowledge. Certainly, certitude, certainly. Old French, knowledge, learning, application, corpus of human knowledge, from Latin scientia, meaning knowledge, a knowing, expertness, from science, genitive, scientist, intelligence, skill, all right, from the present participle of seer, to know. So what does science mean? What does science mean? It means knowledge or to know. How do you know? To know by to be acquired by study. That's how you know, by studying an object. And that's what physical science is. So, like I said, the problem is that this science, what they call in science today, they're trying to use this science to push out the Most High as if that's the only science. As if this science today proves that there's no existence of God. But see, as we see, you can't prove that there's no God. You cannot. So then to say that there's no God based off of science is therefore is you're having faith that there's no God, because you haven't. Matter of fact, let me just get this out of this book. Alright, so this book right here is The Ascendancy of the Scientific Dictatorship, an examination of the epistemic autocracy from the 19th century to the 21st century, by Philip Darrell Collins and Paul David Collins. Alright, so we're going to go to page 151. Past periods of secularization have seen the decline of theistic faiths and a general rejection of the traditional notions of God. No doubt, the publication of Origin of the Species, which is by Charles Darwin, alright, and the subsequent widespread promotion of evolutionary thought had this effect. However, periods of secularization do not represent the obliteration of religion, but the preparation of the dominant religio, meaning religio means to bind, religio culture, milieu, for the arrival of the new religion. What's that new religion? That's the science that they're into. It says secularization and its correlative atheism only acts as a catalyst for an enormous paradigm shift. This beginning with the realization of a significant philosophical paradox intrinsic to atheism. Authors Ron Carlson and Ed Decker explains this intrinsic paradox. It is philosophically impossible to be an atheist, since to be an atheist you must have infinite knowledge in order to know absolutely that there is no God. But to have infinite knowledge, you would have to be God yourself. It's hard to be God yourself and an atheist at the same time. In order to be philosophically consistent, the atheist must eventually conclude that he/she is a God. Alright, so basically I'm gonna read this part again. It says it is philosophically impossible to be an atheist, since to be an atheist you must have infinite knowledge in order to know absolutely that there is no God. But to have infinite knowledge you will have to be God yourself. It's hard to be God yourself and an atheist at the same time. So as you see, this atheist stuff and this science stuff and evolution disproves God and all this shit like that is bullshit, man. Alright? It's false science, man. It's false knowledge, man. Alright? You can never prove that there's no God by saying that by having the evolution, you find the monkeys walking and stuff like that. That doesn't disprove God. Alright, and basically what you're doing is you're having faith in science. Alright, it's faith. You believe. You don't know that there's not a God. You believe that monkeys walk, that humans came from primates. You don't know that for sure because the link has never been found. Alright, so that's why I told this girl that she was in a religion and that religion was science. Okay, now let's go to another page in this book. All right. Once again, this is called the Ascendancy of the Scientific Dictatorship. Now we're going to go to page 10. We're going to read a couple pages. All right, to show you about this science being a religion. All right. So page 10, the new theocracy. All right, and theocracy theo meaning God, and cracy means rule or government. So the new government of God, all right, the new God government, basically. It says, how did the scientific dictatorship of the 20th century begin? In earlier centuries, the ruling class controlled the masses through the more mystical belief systems, particularly sun worship. Yet this would all change. In Saucers of the Illuminati, Jim Keith documents the shift from an autocracy of the sun to the theocracy of the science. Shift from a theocracy of the sun to a theocracy of science. Since the sun god and his various relations, including sons and wives, were after several thousand years of worship beginning to fray around the edges in terms of believability, and a lot of commoners were beginning to grumble that this stuff was all made up, the Illuminati came up with new and improved versions of their mind control software that didn't depend upon the sun god or the moon goddess for ultimate authority. Priests and rituals were soon supplanted by a new breed of bookkeepers and a new methodology of bookkeeping. Keith elaborates. As the sun/moon cult lost some of its popularity, scientists were quick to take up some of the slack. According to their propaganda, the physical laws of the universe were the ultimate causative factors, and naturally those physical laws were only fathomable by the scientific. Keep reading. According to Kumzerwi, nominalist epistemological rigidity herald an overthrowing preoccupation with sense certainty and the ontological plane of the physical universe. Thus, scientific inquiry inquiry would eventually be limited to quantifiable entities, meaning that when they look into science, only things that can be measured or seen or heard or felt. All right, that's the only things that they will inquire about. And that's what the girl said. Only things she can hear, or she can feel, or she can see. That's the only things that she believes in. Page 11. Its nominalism is but a short step to envisioning the measurable as the totality of reality. All right, I'll read that again. Its nominalism is but a short step to envisioning the measurable as the totality of reality. GMSFLORIDA contends that nominalist epistemology resulted in the obliteration of metaphysics and the emergence of a scientific deism of sorts. Meaning that he's saying that this nominalist shit, it did away with metaphysics, which metaphysics is the study of things that affects the physical world but cannot be seen, touched, or heard. All right, but it's things that affect the physical world, but that can't be seen or touched and stuff like that. That, you know, that's what it means. That's what it's talking about. It says, man, by his very nature, seeks to know the truth, the nature and the purpose of his existence. Nominalism precludes this possibility. Denying the intellect, it denies that the man can abstract from the things of this world and penetrate their underlying reality. Being dependent upon phenomena, its only certainties are statistical approximations. Obviously, experiential knowledge has its place and function, but once it is declared to be the only legitimate source of knowledge, man is deprived of the absolute and has no access to the nature of his being. So it's basically saying, once there's only one type of knowledge that's accepted, being the physical knowledge, all right, then basically that's what they're saying. There's only one type of knowledge accepted now, which is the physical knowledge. All right, things that you can that you experience through your senses. It says once you only have just one science, you lose the nature of your being. Thus human reason mind was apostatized, and God became a nubilist irrelevancy. And nubilist means a deified glory. I mean, he became a glory of irrelevancy. This propaganda shift facilitated the rise of the elite's new theocracy. All right, theocracy. Theocracy meaning theo means God and cracy means rule. All right. The official state-sanctioned religion of this theocracy was scientism, the belief that the investigational methods of the natural sciences should be ecumenically imposed upon all fields of inquiry. In his article, The Shamans of Scientism, Michael Shermer described scientism as a scientific worldview that encompasses natural explanations for all phenomena, eschews supernatural and paranormal speculations, and embraces empiricism and reason as the twin pillars of a philosophy of life appropriated for an age of science. See that? This form of epistemological imperialism is not to be confused with legitimate science. Researcher Michael Hoffman makes this distinction in his book. See what I'm saying? Like, this science that they bringing out now is not. That's why the scriptures say science falsely called so, because it's not true science, man. It's not true study. It's not true science. Okay? A lot of it is bullshit, lies and the shit that they made up, that they want you to have faith and believe in. Science was practiced as the application of man's God-given talents for the production of appropriate technology on a human scale, relief of misery, and the reverential exploration and appreciation of the glory of divine providence as revealed in nature, is a useful tool for mankind. Scientism is science going mad, which is what we have today. Concerning this important distinction, Rama Croswormy states, traditional man placing science in a hierarchical relationship to the totality of truth sees no conflict between what is demonstrable by measurement and what he knows from revelation. His attitude towards the modern scientific outlook, with its claim to the totality of truth and its refusal to recognize the moral master, is, however, quite another matter. In no way can he give his assent to irrational postulates such as progress, evolution, and the perfectibility of man, quo man, ideas which have their origin in man's collective subconscious rather than in God. If any conflict exists, it is not between science and faith properly understood, but between modern and traditional attitudes. Exactly, because as we read earlier, in the ancient days, in these ancient times, all right, we read about Daniel. Daniel had an understanding of the metaphysical, or the things that you can't see. All right, the sciences that you can't see. All right, the knowledge that you can't see, the knowledge of the Most High God, and the knowledge of the angels that you can't necessarily all the time see. But he also had an understanding in the things that you can see, the physical knowledge of the earth and things pertaining to the earth. All right. But science today only had, and this is real because it's the same thing with so-called Christians today. They don't keep the law. They don't want to keep the laws. They don't want to read the Old Testament, but they want to say they saved by faith. Well, science is now, you got science saying we're not going to recognize the metaphysical or the things that you can't see, but that has an effect on life. We're only going to recognize and study the things that you can see and that you can feel, the things that you can experience through your senses. So we have in this world now where you have a incompleteness. All right. So-called Christians are incomplete because they don't study and keep the laws, but they want to have faith. Well, that's being incomplete. And then you have an incompleteness within science, because this science today, falsely called so, only deals with physical science, but not metaphysical science as well. Sciences of things that are not seen, all right, or felt, things that you can't necessarily experience through your senses, all right, but that you can experience through your spirit, all right, which you can't see. Okay, so we're gonna keep going. It says, convinced that their outlook encompasses the totality of truth, the shamans of scientism are overtly hostile towards supernatural explanations. According to their criteria, all inquiry must be restricted to this ontological plane of existence. Sherman secondly voices this so-called modern attitude. Cosmology and evolutionary theory as the ultimate origin question that have traditionally been the provenance of religion and theology. Scientism is courageously preferring naturalistic answers that supplant supernaturalistic ones, and in the process is providing spiritual substances for those whose need are not being met by these ancient cultural traditions. Scientism bestows of metaphysical primacy upon the ontological plane of the physical universe, precludes the knowledge of humanity attends through abstraction. Simultaneously, it expels concepts like progress, evolution, and the perfectibility of man with a religious reverence, while scientific materialists and their followers and their fellow travelers, behaviorists, I think this is cyclists, functionalists, secular humanists, Marxists relegate texts such as the biblical Eden account to mere myth, and endemic motive remains firmly embedded within their own Weltanschauung. Alright, so let's get to the point, man. Let's get to the point. Alright, here we're going to start right here. This is where we're going to start. Indeed, many scientific concepts are based upon assumptions that are mythic in character. Many contemporary scientists would scorn the commoner for invoking unseen forces to explain visible phenomena. However, scientists are guilty of the same sin. Goonan cites one example. Endless examples could be cited. One of the most striking and immediate, so to speak, is the imaginary of atoms and the multiple elements of various kinds into which they have literally become disassociated in the most recent physical theories. The effect of this is, of course, that they are no longer in any sense atoms, which literally mean invisibles. Oh, atoms mean invisibles. Though they go on to be being called by the name in the face of logic, imaginary quotation is the right word, because it is no more than imaginary in the minds of physicists. But the public at large believes firmly that real entities are in question, such as could be seen and touched by anyone whose senses were significantly developed or who had at his disposal sufficiently powerful instruments of observation. It is not that mythology of a most ingenious kind. Is that not mythology of a most ingenious kind? So they're saying that you can't see atoms, and they got to have faith that atoms exist. How does this differ from the religious imaginary invoked by priests and magicians to mesmerize audiences in the past? There's no difference. Yet, in this chronocentric period of human history, there is no scarcity of contempt for the thinkers of antiquity. The dominant scientific culture still pours scorn on the conceptions of the ancients at every opportunity. All right. However, Hoffman further elaborates on the folly of scientism. The reason that science is a bad master and dangerous servant and ought not to be worshipped is that science is not objective. Science is fundamentally about the uses of measurement. What does not fit the yardstick of the scientist is discarded. Scientific determinism has repeatedly excluded some data from its measurements and fudged other data, such as Peltdown Man, in order to support the self-fulfilling nature of its own agenda, be it Darwinism or cut, burn, and poison method of cancer treatment. Because of its preoccupation with quantifications, science tends to overlook the qualitative aspects of things in relation to the human condition, and the qualitative encompasses abstract concepts such as liberty and dignity. Because such concepts are immune to quantification, I mean you can't measure it, they are automatically precluded by science. Thus, an extensively scientific approach reduces the complex human creature into a grossly oversimplified biological automation. Concerning this preoccupation with quantification, Ramaquarsley states, science deals with measurable phenomena. Its laws resume past experiences, and its closest approximation to truth is by means of statistical averages. Such a methodology can never establish the absolute or objective certainties, but only predict that which has happened in the past will probably occur in the future. When the scientist departs from the measurable, when he reasons or speculates about the facts he has gathered, he defines the result as a working hypothesis or a theory. As more facts become known, theories are modified and even radically changed. See, this is what the theories is about. It says the conclusion of science are never stable, but rather can be described as a constantly changing consensus. Let's look up this word consensus real quick. What does this word consensus mean? Consensus, all right, general agreement or concord harmony. So this is what science is generally accepted. Whatever is generally accepted by the group. It says the conclusions of science are never stable, but rather can be described as a constantly changing consensus. They are objective only insofar as they can be quantitatively demonstrated, but they are never universal in the sense that they are absolute or applicable throughout time and space. Those who doubt this have but to look at the innumerable and rapidly changing cosmological theories proposed for our consideration over the last 50 years. Needless to say, those who adhere to the traditional viewpoints can have no argument with the measurable fact. This is the folly of scientism. It says, in economically imposing science upon all fields of inquiry, scientism ignores qualia. In such a climate of economical rigidity, human liberty and dignity are either limited or absolutely obliterated. Scientism comprises the ideal nucleus of all modern scientific dictatorships. It must be understood that the new institution of knowing is a form of mysticism, like its religious precursors. A society governed exclusively by science amounts to little more than a secular theocracy. All right, and that's what we have today with these people. About the maternal world we live in, but as an absolute as an almost mythical concept encompassing his most cherished conviction, his belief in evolution, progress, and that all reality is subjective, measurable, and centered on man, quote man, it's man by man. For him, what science cannot measure and explain with its limited methodology simply does not exist. All that is knowable is accomplished within its aegis. Aegis means its protection or support. For modern man, the scientific has replaced the priest, and when he speaks, even if it be outside the realm of his competence, his words are imbued with quasi-divine authority. Everything modern man believes in, be it hygiene, socialism, or modern psychology, is described as scientific, and adjective which seemingly endows its subject with the quality of truth and objectivity. It is to science that we are directed in seeking solutions to our every problem. Modern man often proclaims his belief in science, and well, he should, for science, or rather scientism, has become his religion. He accepts its fuzzy dogmas, not because they are rational or intellectually compelling, but because he feels they are true. Such a faith is visceral and blind. It defies definition and can be described as an immanentist awareness, finding its source in the subconscious. Indeed, science, spelled with the capital S to signify its virtual hypothesis, is the new religion, and scientists have become its priesthood. Sherman candidly recipulates. We are, at base, a socially hierarchical primate species. We show differences to our leaders, pay respect to our elders, and follow the dictates of our shamans. This being the age of science, it is scientism, shaman, who command our veneration. Alright. Let's see. Contemporary science is predicated upon empiricism, the epistemological stance that all knowledge is derived exclusively through the senses, yet an exclusively empirical approach relegates cause to the realm of metaphysical fantasy. This holds enormous ramifications for science. What is perceived as A causing B could be merely a consequence of consequential juxtaposition. Although temporal succession and spatial proximity are axiomatic, causal connection is not. Affirmation of causality on casual relationships is impossible. Given the absence of causality, all of a scientist's findings must be taken upon faith. You see that? Given the absence of causality, all of the scientist's findings must be taken upon faith. Ironically, science relies on the affirmations of such cause and effect relationship. Alright, so as you see, what's happening is this science is the new religion, man. It's a religion. You have to believe in its tenets, man. You have to believe in evolution. Evolution is not proven. It's never been proven. They've never found that missing link between primates and man. They have never proven it. They have never proven that there is no God because of evolution and progress. It has never been proven. They cannot prove that there is no God. If they could prove it, that means that they know all things. That means they will be the Most High. So, as you can see, this is a religion, man. This is the religion of the day. Alright? Now, in this society that we live in, we know that Esau, or the so-called white man, is the pusher of all knowledges. Whether it be knowledge, righteous knowledge, or wicked knowledge. Alright? So I'm going to read this part out of this book on page 18. It says, return to Posner's previous statement. Ostensible control over the knowledge is achieved through the promulgation of institutionally accredited science. So when you go to college and they teach you those things in college, these are things that the elites of the society set up. These are institutions that the society set up, and they set these sciences up to push on you as this religion, man. As this religion of the physical, the absolute of the physical. Alright? It says, now the elite had to meet 2 requirements to ensure their epistemological dominance: a science specifically designed for their needs, and an institution to accredit and disseminate it. All right. So that's it. All right. That's it. That's why these people believe these things, man. And that's why that chick, you know, that we was talking to, believes what she believes, because she read these things out of books, and she has to have faith to believe these things. That's why I told her that faith is a religion. I'm sorry, not faith. That's why I told her that science is a religion, man. Evolution is a religion. You have to believe in its tenets that can't be proven. She was out there saying that there's no such thing as God. God is not real. And I had to say, well, how do you know God isn't real? You can't prove that. All you can say is that you don't know. And that's it. So I hope you got brothers was edified with that. I'm CHAARAWTAZA, GMS Orlando, Florida. So with that, I say YAHAWASHI. Blessings, peace, and blessings to all the brothers that go and teach the truth and sincerity. And to all the brothers that believe. With that, I say, I praise Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai Barakatah. Shalom Akim.